There we go. Well, Alexander, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your interest on this initiative. You know, the purpose of this of meeting is to provide information for people who are going through an interview process to be or to get prepared better in a much better way. That way, they could avoid any mistakes. So briefly, I would like to start introducing you. You are Alexander Ullman. You work as the head of human resources for LinkedIn. And just for the reference, this interview, the answers that you will provide, you will be providing them as an HR professional. You will not be speaking on behalf of LinkedIn. So if we could start, Alexander, could you, as a head of human resources, what types of roles or positions do you usually interview?
Well, first of all, thank you, Enrique, for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you. So as a head of HR, I usually interview for positions that will, of course, report to me or to my organization. So all HR positions. And of course, I also interview some business leadership positions when requested. So sometimes it's a head of sales, it's a head of operations, head of finance. So many, I would say, director level positions, sometimes manager level positions as well.
Okay, awesome. Now, there are different type of profiles, you know, depending on the position, depending on the experience. Regarding soft skills, in your experience, what soft skills do you look in a candidate for a non-managerial position or a non-leadership position? And what soft skills do you look for management positions or leadership positions?
Well, there are many, but I mentioned flexibility and adaptability. We live in an environment of constant change. And I think that change is the only known thing lately. So I observe how much of flexibility and adaptability a candidate will bring. I also believe that once you are in a company, you need to live in the culture and values of this organization. So I truly believe that for the success of the organization and also for an employee to be successful and happy in the workplace, they need to be compatible with the culture and values. So I observe if the candidate brings these values with them, or at least will adapt easily to these values.
Okay. Flexibility and adaptability for both sides, for non-managerial positions and for leadership positions.
Okay. Both, yeah.
Okay, great. Now, also based on your experience, what are the common mistakes that you've seen that the candidates do or tend to do in a job interview?
Well, I think that the biggest mistake would be when they are not authentic.
Okay.
Usually this happens when the candidate tries, for example, to guess what the interviewer wants to hear. Usually the guess is wrong, because you don't know what is on the interviewer's mind. So you don't know what they want to hear. So the candidate ends up saying something that he or she didn't want to say, or thinking, if it was what the interviewer wanted to hear. So while when we are authentic, I think we show up as we are, we bring what we have. So let the interviewer get your best. And I think, another mistake maybe is trying to talk about accomplishments, increasing the outcome, making it seem more interesting than it really was. So there's no need for that. Interviewers want to hear your true story, and more than the accomplishment itself, they want to understand what and how the candidate got to that result. So it's like the way you got it, not exactly what you got it.
Okay, good. But do you think it's a good idea to eventually, for example, in an interview with the hiring manager, to mention the achievements?
You can mention the achievements. That's fine. but don't make it, bigger than it was,
Okay.
So I think, like, when I say being authentic, it's also please don't lie,
Okay.
say the truth,
Okay.
and yes, you can bring your accomplishments, your results, that's fine. But probably the interviewer will want to understand how you got to that result.
Okay. Perfect. Alexander, during one of these during this one-on-ones that I've done, one of the directors mentioned that there's a particular value that he looks in every candidate, regarding of the soft and technical skills, and it was social responsibility. Is there any particular value that you look in candidates, despite of the regardless of the soft skills and the technical skills?
Yes, I think there are non-negotiable values that are integrity and honesty.
Okay.
But after that, I would look into a similar line of social responsibility, but leaning into diversity. Candidates that, candidates that genuinely praise diversity bring with them more compassion. And we know that diversity brings innovation. So usually they are candidates open to listen to new ideas rather than only imposing their own. Diversity also aim to embolden individuals with good emotional judgment and teamwork skills. So this will foster, better workplace culture. And I think that diversity includes, flexibility, flexibility of thought, leadership, and communication styles. So I think that diversity brings a lot to the table.
No, definitely. The fact that you get to work with people from other cultures, nationalities, sexual orientations, religions, it definitely adds up to the organizational culture of the company. And I think that you can learn from those experiences and also avoid mistakes, from all of those, from all of that knowledge, right?
Exactly.
Okay, pretty good. Now, what do you think that it is most important based on your experience? The years of working experience or the candidate's attitude?
Well, I would say that depends on the position the person is applying for. But let's put it this way. In my opinion, willingness to learn will always be valuable, while years of experience will only sometimes be valuable. Mm-hmm. So I say that because the attitude is important in any situation. So there's no use to have someone with many years of experience, but with a mindset that he or she knows it all and doesn't need to learn anything. On the other hand, years of experience also brings important skills like managing some difficult situations. For example, there are things that you need to have been exposed to know how to deal with. So I think that experience is also important. But there are things that we improve getting old, like life teaches. But attitude of being open to learn is always extremely important. And I say before, as I said before, like not only in the beginning of the career, but always. So that's why I always say willingness to learn is valuable always, all the time. And the years of experience is going to be more valuable only in some cases.
Yeah, great, perfect. Now, do you have any funny story or any anecdote regarding with a candidate, of course, that you experienced during an interview?
So Enrique, the most remarkable one is when I was interviewing a candidate in person. So after about 30 minutes of interview, the phone rings of the candidate, and he looked at it and said, "Oh, I really need to get it." I totally understand. We all have emergencies. And as he was answering the phone, I left the room and waited outside to give him privacy. When I returned, he apologized and said, "I need to be honest, this phone call was from another company saying I was approved in their recruitment process. But if you made me an offer, I would choose here." So I need, and he said, I need to give them an answer in 2 days. So can you arrange the other interviews and make all your process to be fast and have a decision in the next day? So that was it.
And you were like, anything else?
Yeah, exactly. It's it's impossible to do that.
Yeah,
That was like the first interview.
yes, I agree with you. I think that it's important for the people to know that even though you are with an HR, with a CEO, with any chief person in a C-level position, I think that it's important for the candidates to understand that companies has their own internal processes, and sometimes we need to respect those times. So I think that that's something important. That something it's not in our hands to do those kinds of things.
Exactly. In a recruitment process, it is not something that you do from a day to another. There are a lot of variables that you need to take into account. There are other candidates you need to talk with, and other interviewers. So a lot of steps that you cannot just say, okay, the next day I'll have my decision.
Yes, correct. Now, as an interviewer, is there a common or a default or mandatory question that you ask to the candidates in an interview?
I wouldn't say there's always the same question, but I remember I tried in the past to ask a particular question, like a tricky question, or not a tricky, to get the candidate, but some question but it didn't work for every person, because sometimes it was kind of out of context, or the candidate had already answered that while answering other questions. But on the other hand, I always try to see in the behavior some circumstances. So I make up questions based on what the candidate brings regarding his or her experience. So it's always regarding the behavior I want to analyze, and always in the context of that candidate, of that particular candidate.
Got it. Understood. Now, let's turn tables. Now, as a candidate, what has been, is there has been any tough or difficult question that someone asked you?
It's yes, but it's a very common and simple question that I am never prepared to this question. It's so funny, because in every process they ask me, like, where do I see myself in 5 years? Yes. I hate that question.
Tell me about it.
I hate that question, because when I think of such a remote future, and for me, even like 1 year is a remote future, I can only make plans with the data I have in the present moment, so everything is in, we talked about change, that everything is in constant change, and new events will happen that will make my objectives to change, and they won't be interesting to me anymore. So that's why when they ask me that, it's like, I don't know what to answer. So I hate that question.
Now, for all of those future HR professionals, what will you think that are the top 3 skills that an HR professional should have?
So I think that being able to business acumen. I think that understanding the business, because HR is going to drive decisions with the business. So you need to understand the business. I would say also that being able to analyze data. HR in the past was much into getting data. I think that if you get a lot of data and don't know how to analyze it, there's no use. And compassion. I think that you need to be a compassionate leader in HR. I think everywhere, but HR is very important also.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And lastly, do you have any advice for people that are going through a recruitment process or they are preparing themselves for a job interview?
Well, always try to understand what are your own values.
Okay.
Because when you work, I think that when you work in a company that are very similar to your values, it's very easy to adapt. You're gonna, and if you work in a company that is very, very different from your values, you're not going to adapt, and it's going to be a nightmare for you. So be prepared for that. Understand the company culture and values. Understand, what the company really does. And also, one of the most important things is, we already mentioned here, but be your authentic self always. If you pretend to be someone you are not, either to be closer to the culture that you think you don't belong, in the long run, you'll be the one suffering the consequences.
Okay, awesome. Well, Alexander, thank you very much. That's it. That's all the questions that I wanted to ask you. Again, thank you very much for your time. We truly appreciate it, and hopefully your feedback, these answers will help other people to prepare themselves and hopefully get new jobs.
Thank you, Enrique. I hope this will really help people, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you too.
Thank you.